Hey guys, we're going to take a look over here. Rachel's going to teach you about pre-revolutionary France. I have no idea what it's about, so Rachel is the key person right here. So Rachel, what's the essential question you're going to take a look at?
Why do people rebel or revolt against their government?
Wow. Now, if I know that, if I can know that answer, I know I can define the theory of absolutism and explain its effects on Europe, right?
Yeah.
I know, she's excited about it. So in review, because I know you guys know all this stuff, we talked about Protestant Reformation, we've talked about religious wars, because everybody likes to fight, because nobody's religion is correct. Everybody's religion is messed up. St. Bartholomew's Massacre, if you had me, you had to write some kind of stupid primary source on it you didn't even want to have to do. You got Henry IV, who converted Catholicism, issued the Edict of Nantes to bring order and peace, and then all this was rebellion, and then we got rebuilt France's prosperity, but the son was a weak king, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to go through, we're going to talk about Louis XIII and Cardinal Richelieu. Hey, Micah, you want to say hey? Come here and say hey to my freshman. Say hey. So, Micah,
Yeah.
did you ever watch the movie The Three Musketeers?
Yes.
Who was in that movie? Who's the king in that movie?
Louis the
13th?
13th?
Yes. And who is the bad guy in that movie?
Cardinal.
The Cardinal Richelieu. So this is actually stuff that you can watch about. If you don't want to listen to me talk, Micah didn't want to listen to me talk. He's already gone. You can sit there and just have fun. And so you're going to do the Three Musketeers. So what we're going to do is Louis XIII was appointed as minister of France, but he was too young to actually do anything, so he became the ruler of France. Cardinal Richelieu is sort of going to try to control it from behind the scenes, and they're going to come up together. They're going to try to make some reforms to strengthen the French monarchy, albeit it was through Cardinal Richelieu because he was sort of the advisor of the time period. They're going to restrict the Protestants. They could not build walls around the castles. Now, the idea about restriction of the Protestants is it makes the Catholic Church a little bit higher, and the Cardinal Richelieu is obviously a part of the Catholic Church. They ordered the nobles to tear down castle walls, gave more power to government officials of the middle class, and not to rely on nobles to reduce power of the nobility because they wanted power with the king and they also wanted power to the church. These guys wanted to strengthen France as a nation, but the Habsburg dynasty rules the surrounding countries. 30 Years' War lasted, guess how long? 30 years. Julie wants to come over here and talk to you guys. Julie, who was the 30 Years' War between? Julie, if you want to answer my question, you got to answer their question. They want to know who the 30 Years' War was between. Protestant and Catholic. I know this is the shock, but these guys fight over religion, territory, and power because power is king. Richelieu supported the war because he feared the Habsburg family, and the family dominated most of Europe.
Still outside, right?
They kept France out of war to the end, and they were successful in weakening the dynasty. Obviously, there's way too many people over here because they're excited about having class outside. But you guys need to remember that even though we're outside, they fought outside in the 30 Years' War between the German Protestants and the Catholic emperors over religion. The Peace of Westphalia is going to be where France is going to be emerged as the most powerful nation because they gained territory in Germany. German princes are independent of HRE. They ended the religious wars in Europe. The new method of peace negotiation was participants meet to determine problems of wars and term of peace as opposed to what's been going on beforehand. These guys are actually starting to meet. So the Peace of Westphalia is one of the few things that's important because this is where people actually start meeting together to determine way for peace. Louis XIV comes around and he's France's most powerful king of almost of all time, and we're going to call him the Sun King. He gains the throne at the age of 5, and Cardinal Mazarin rules in his name. This is a popular deal where you have the church leaders help the French rulers rule, and they're Lou. He increased taxes, strengthened the government. People, including nobles, hated him because obviously you take money, power out of the nobles and power of the church, and you put it back into the king. Mazarin dies, and Louis takes control. He excluded nobles from councils. He kept on reducing power because he wanted power of himself, and he increases powers of local officials called intendants. He revoked the Edict of Nantes, and 1,000 Huguenots fled Europe. John Baptiste Colbert is going to be Louis's minister of finance. He made reforms to improve France's economy. He made France self-sufficient, produced everything they need, realized the importance of colonies and policies of mercantilism. He encouraged people to migrate to Americas, and he put high tariffs on imports. There's number 2, by the way. That's number 2 walking in. The Palace of Versailles, where Louis came in, he built this palace. He wanted to glorify France. He wanted to require nobles to live at the palace. This is ways to control them. But the Palace of Versailles is huge. He required taxes to pay for his lifestyle in palace. And obviously, this money didn't come from somewhere, so he had to borrow money, and he basically had to go into the church's funds to build this deal. And that is the Palace of Versailles today, which is even a little bit not. Sorry, I got interrupted, but there's the Palace of Versailles. Louis in warfare, he once expanded France's boundaries, invaded Spanish Netherlands. France likes to invade a lot of people because obviously they don't like people. Other European countries unite against France, and they take a war. This is because they like to fight because nobody wants anybody to have power, but everybody wants power. So between the Palace of Versailles and the new taxes to finance war, there was poor, homeless, not enough food. The people were tired. People wanted peace. People were tired of the nobility, and you started having chaos ensue. The last slide of all this goes over the war for Spanish succession. This is where the king of Spain dies without an heir, but he promises the throne to Louis' grandson. Nobody really wanted all of the France to get all of this stuff sort of deal. They didn't want France and Spain united, so there was a war to prevent it. The compromise was a grandson was allowed to become king of Spain, but could never unite two countries under one king. This is basically because of the fact that nobody wanted France to become king, and because everybody was related to each other because of the blue blood theory, nobody had that much power. Louis' legacies are obviously staggering debt and resentment over power, over abuse of power, so you have the beginning of the chaos for what sets up the rest of the time period.